Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Hi, my name is Nicole Ambrosia. I'm from Los Angeles, California. And my story is I grew up on the Central Coast, so a small town, really beautiful. And I was a gymnast and an acrobat and a straight A student. And then I started to have issues in gymnastics, and it turned out that I was not going to college. So I decided to become a stripper. And I did that for a few years. And that's where I started to pray and meditate. But let me back up a little bit. When I was 15 years old, I started doing yoga with my grandmother as a way to heal my body from gymnastics injuries. And that's when I started my yoga journey, and I would say also spiritual path. And I started reading some Conversations with God books from Neil Donald Walsh at the age of 16. And so that is my spiritual journey, where that started. And so I've been doing yoga while I was being a stripper for 3 years, and I got into a lot of prayer and meditation. And I was in a car accident in 2005. And then I ended up getting a settlement where I was able to stop dancing and really pursue my dream of being a yoga teacher. So I went from stilettos to a white turban. I threw myself into Kundalini yoga and more meditation, mantra, kirtan, and spiritual practices. And years go by, and I become pregnant when I'm 26 years old. I was a yoga teacher. I also did some private chef work. And when I became pregnant and I had a baby, I realized at that point is I never really truly loved myself, because I was experiencing this unconditional love for this being who was so brand new. And I really came to terms with where I was at in self-love. And at the time I was experiencing some autoimmune issues. I had a rash on my face. I was inflamed. And so then around 2016, about 3 years after my son was born, did I really start to get on the path of self-love, real self-love and empowerment, and sharing my journey. And that's when I started teaching these somatic sorcery classes and really developing a modality for women to deepen into their own self-love, not just physically, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and all that. So it's been quite the journey. I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot of things. I've been through a lot of relationships, and I don't like to say failed relationships, but definitely a lot of learning experiences. And I started developing this coaching. I was ending up coaching my friends. By default, they would call me and ask for advice. And I'm like, you know what? Like maybe I could share with more women on how to be empowered, romantically in a way that works, and also delving into the feminine aspect of things is, as I got more into the practice of feminine empowerment, empowering myself first and foremost, and deepening into somatic sorcery, and meditation, connecting with myself, and if we want to say like guides and higher power, is really getting to know myself. And there was a period between 2016 and 2018 where I studied with a shaman from the lineage of the Karo shaman of Peru. And I became certified in shamanic Reiki, and I learned energy medicine. And there's something my teacher told me that really stood out. He said, there are the two most important days of our life. It is the day that we are born and the day we find out why. And while this is an ever evolving reconciliation for me, I know that I was put on this planet to help women and also men find their deepest authenticity so that they can experience real joy and real happiness without the heaviness of guilt, fear, shame, jealousy, old paradigms, belief systems, and contracts, so that we can get onto a higher destiny path with the help and support of community, right? No man or woman, especially, is an island. So I believe in community support, women empowering women, and us really helping each other and just encouraging each other to be our very most, to take up space in our environment, to shine our light, and to have our posture up and our shoulders back and our heads high, and to walk through the world as our birthright, being the queens that we came here to be. So that's, I feel like that pretty much sums it up with how I got to where I am today. And is there anything else I would like to share about that? So currently I am dating, and so that I'm choosing to keep a little bit private for now because it's a new sort of thing. But I do have a lot of experience with helping women in the world of dating align themselves. So it's a lot of online dating, but a lot of it is helping women refine how they're putting themselves out there, how they're presenting, and how they're embodying their power for what exactly they want to attract, right? So it's becoming clear on who we are, who we want to become, enjoying the journey, right? We live in a society where it's a lot destination fixation. I'll be happy when, but the feminine is fun. Feminine is free. Feminine is lightness, right? Lightness. And I use this word juicy, where we're able to relax into our state of being and know the fact that our energy, where we're at and how we're being, affects the world around us. So in my experience and experiment, I've been running experiments on embodying a different frequency of how I'm showing up. And this practice it's infiltrated and trickled into my life since I was a gymnast, how people respond to me, right? How are people responding to me, men and or women? And what is the influence I would like to have on the world by how I'm being and what I'm putting out there as a stimuli in my environment. And also being sensitive, like developing a sensitivity to the environments that I allow myself to go in as well. So this has been a really beautiful, very empowering journey. And like I said, I don't believe I don't believe in mistakes. I believe there are only lessons, and our outer reality is always reflecting back to us for the purpose of our evolution and learning. And I believe we reincarnate, we're put on this planet to learn those lessons and to keep evolving, and we can choose suffering. That'll be there because we are in these human embodiments. But I believe that we don't have to take everything so seriously, that we can be light. Like the lighter we choose to be about ourselves and about life and about the experience, the better, the more fun we're going to have. Okay. I didn't come here to not have fun in my reality, although there has been some suffering along the way. I'm so grateful for all of the lessons, and it really lends to me being able to be more compassionate for everybody else everybody else going through something, right? We're all going through something. There's always something happening that can be perceived to be terrible or bad, and maybe it is, right? But perspective is everything, and there can be a silver lining in every sort of situation, even if it does seem like the end of the road. So
Wow. What an incredible story. It always lights me up when through this podcast, I find these amazing women who are not only loving themselves, but are teaching other women about self-love. A lot of times we look outside of ourselves for fulfillment, for that missing piece, that missing half. But if you are full of love yourself, if you meet another person, it's just a cherry on the cake, right? It's not like you're desperate, you need them. So I love what you're doing in empowering women.
thank you.
It is gorgeous. So what inspired you to create the Somatic Sorcery classes? And how do they help women to connect with their bodies and embrace their sensuality?
So what inspired me to create the Somatic Sorcery classes was it kind of landed. It just landed because I have a background in movement. I have a background in dance. I have a background in Kundalini yoga and meditation and breath work. And this is the full integration of all the things, including my days as a exotic dancer. And I pulled from all of these modalities to create something for women to transcend themselves, to get, what does that mean? That means getting out of their head, out of the thinking thing, out of the rigidity of the mind and the programming, right? And essentially getting into their bodies, moving their hips in a safe and sacred space in front of a mirror, where they can just really unleash. And I always use the term, like, the issues are in the tissues. If we don't move it out, it's going to stagnate and cause dis-ease, whether that materializes like in the body as something's like off or an illness, or mentally. So it's a way to reprogram and deprogram through the soma, which is the body. So we do a lot of things like expanding the fingers and lifting the arms and circling back, and feeling into the intuitive nature of our bodies, of our energy, well, our body, but then also our energy field, because we're not just our bodies, right? Yes. And it's less identifying with the thinking thing, like we are not our thoughts, right? So it's less identifying in the thinking thing and allowing ourselves to surrender, to let go, and to relax. And eventually towards the end of class, I start with more structured movement, and then we deconstruct. And then I encourage the ladies to move from their heart, to move from their womb, to primal yell out if you need to, right? So we're moving energy, moving emotions. Emotion is energy in motion. So getting a real feel for our entire spectrum of what femininity is, what female is, what goddess is, right? So
I love it. And when you're talking right now, I think just before we started the interview, I told you I ended up collapsing with congestive heart failure from stress. Now, our emotions get trapped in our bodies if you are not paying attention. They get trapped in your body to a point that it can take you down. I mean, I collapsed in a rice field in Indonesia, almost lost my life because of the stress and the hypertension. And movement can help release that energy. And this is a very, very important thing for women to remember, that the
Yeah.
emotions have to go somewhere. They have to
Yeah.
go somewhere. So, how do you define, and I'm going to put this in quotes, juicy
Oh.
context of self love? And why is this an important aspect for women to cultivate?
Okay. So juiciness, right? When we think of juicy, we think of ripe. We think of like a ripe peach, some sort of juicy fruit. So if we invoke the energy of juiciness or ripeness or fertility,
Yeah.
then it's a turn on mechanism for women. Like we feel juicy. Like what happens when women become aroused, right? We become literally wet. And I am so much encouraging of women to allow themselves the safe and the safe space to be able to allow themselves to be aroused by life. So
Mm,
I am an encourager of eroticism, and how I define eroticism is aliveness and continually tempering and expanding our ability to feel, because that is a feminine superpower, is our
yeah.
ability to feel this full spectrum of energy and emotion, and to be able to tap into things and to feel and to sense. And that's what's going to help us develop our intuition. Is not just our
Mm,
intuition is not just our third eye right here, but it's our entire viscerality. Like we feel,
yes.
we sense, we experience.
Can you share a success story where one of your clients transformed her life through your sex, love, and dating coaching? Oh, what's happening?
Of course. Oh my God. Well, a few come to mind. I was working with a woman, and so she was very much a feminist, which that, like I love women's rights and everything what came of that. However, I do believe that it encouraged a lot of women um, to devalue what it means to be in a soft feminine frequency, because they were being pushed up against feeling like they needed to compete with men, right? And one of my friends, I did a little bit of coaching with her, encouraging her to embrace not being logical for a minute, to giving herself some days off to where
Yeah.
she can sit and stare at a wall if she
Mm,
wants to have a fun. And I've spent some time with her. We did like fun Fridays where we didn't have a plan and we just go to the beach and do shopping and that sort of thing. But that influenced her greatly because she's a creative person. She's a writer. And so it was lending to her ability to be more creative, because she took
okay.
that time outside of time. Like she created a time frame to live outside of time. So that was really
Right.
helpful for her. Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Now, what role does self-love play in romantic relationships? And how do you guide women to strengthen this foundation before seeking or deepening a partnership?
All knowledge is knowledge of self. I'll start with saying that. So if you know yourself, then you know what you like, you know what
Mhm.
you want, and you know how you can invoke the people, namely men around you, to serve your highest happiness. I believe that is the purpose of a relationship, not for, men to be completely of service to women, but that is the nature when a man gives to a woman and she's receptive, like learning self-love. Oh yes, I receive. And women, what do? We amplify. We amplify whatever a man gives to us. So self-love is setting the standards, the boundaries, and the expectation of
Mhm.
whomever is showing up in our orbit on how they are to conduct themselves with us in a way that
Yes.
serves not just us, but also the relationship, so that it can come from a place of empowerment and building upon itself to amplify love. I'm such
Yeah.
a romantic. Like I love love, and I believe in the power of it, but it does start with the self and knowing what you want so you can communicate that.
Yes. I absolutely love it. Yeah, unless you know what you want, how can you communicate that to your partner or the man that you're with? You need to know your own
Yes.
body. You need to know what your own needs are. Now, how does your Fit for a Queen finishing school program differ from traditional self improvement courses? And what unique
Mhm.
values does it bring to your clients?
So the unique values that the Fit for a Queen finishing school program brings to my clients is it's less about like what to do. So so I'm a huge encourager of rituals of self-love, self-knowledge, self-awareness, um, and taking care of our own bodies, taking care of our bodies, our health, not from a place. So it comes from not because we don't like ourselves actually, but because we're in love with ourselves. We're in love
Mm,
with ourselves and we act from that place. We don't work out because we hate our bodies. We work out because we love our bodies. Our bodies are our
mm,
temples. And when we act from that place, we get totally different results. My
mhm,
entire, you would not recognize me from 2016 when I started
mm.
incorporating the principles of self-love. And I call it
Yeah.
Fit for a Queen finishing school because there is a way to move through the third dimension in a way with the posture, the tone of voice, inflection, and how you're responding to stimuli
Mhm.
in a way to
Oh,
get the result that you want with
yeah.
yourself, with friends, with business partners, how to communicate effectively as if you are the queen, not a demanding queen, but
Yes.
an honorable queen.
I
It's like
love that.
it's etiquette. It's in a way of etiquette, right?
Yeah.
There's a politeness to it. There's an essence of magnetism that I help
Yeah.
women create in this program, which I think is different than most other programs. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So, in what ways do somatic practices influence a woman's confidence and how she expresses herself in dating and relationships?
So the somatic practice, right? So soma is the body, and I call it somatic sorcery. So there you'll see other somatic practices out there, which I think it's all great because it's moving the energy and that sort of thing. But when we get
Yes.
into sorcery, we're tapping more into this spiritual um I almost want to use the word container. We're tapping more into a spiritual awareness because we recognize through this practice that we are not just our bodies, but
Yeah.
there is a relay system through the soma to the brain. So in these classes, I help women embody their highest self or their most divine self or their most queenly self. And we really get into this posturing, right? This posturing that relays back to the brain, and it portrays or magnetizes or I want to use the word exudes like regality, and it commands a certain sort of respect when we're walking through the field, walking through planet Earth, basically.
I love that. Yeah, that is just beautiful. Now, what are some of the most common challenges that women face in loving themselves fully?
Mm-hmm.
And how do your programs address these challenges?
The first word that came up when you asked that question was this shadow side of what we'll call femininity is jealousy. Okay.
Okay.
And so this tends to be a big one because, you know, it comes from this. So that comes from a sense of not being enough, right? That's the foundation of that. And someone else has something that you don't, or um, not fully loving who you are. And then we develop this separation of feeling from our sisters. And
Yes.
we feel like we feel shame. And so we project the shame onto another woman when she's being her fullest, most beautiful, most authentic self, because for some reason, the person experiencing the jealousy isn't believing that for themselves, right?
Yeah.
I forgot. But so that being a challenge, right? So the work, the somatic source, it's done in front of a mirror because I want women to see for themselves through a
Mhm.
different lens. So in the beginning of class, I've had some women come in and you can feel the resistance they have to even looking at themselves in the mirror, because women, we tend to pick ourselves apart,
Yeah.
through programming and conditioning. And then by the end of class, they're opened up, we have the endorphins going, and instead of like looking at themselves like they don't like themselves, which is tend to whatever, that's how they perceive other women, they open up and they're looking at in themselves, they're like, dang, like I'm hot. And then you can look at other women and be like, wow, 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 wow. And so that's the shift.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do you integrate the concepts of empowerment and femininity in your coaching? And
Mm-hmm.
why is this balance crucial for your clients?
Um, if being that, if we're a woman, we have a female operating system. We
Mhm.
have different brains than men, right? So
Yeah.
the empowerment part is simply, it's learning a bit of science and biology and how
Mhm.
we can, that we have these vehicles in this reality. So it's really good to know how it works, how it operates, and how we can optimize
Mhm.
to influence and to essentially make our dreams come true, and to get what we want from a place of love and deservedness and worthiness, right?
Yeah.
And not like, I don't believe in like trying so hard or bulldozing people over to do that. I believe it's just simply through direct, authentic communication and holding your power.
Mhm. That is so. Now, what advice would you give to women who struggle with body image or self-worth when it comes to embracing their sensuality and desires?
I would first start with unsubscribing to news and media and advertisements and all the things that are telling you that you're not beautiful enough, you're not worthy enough, and you're not good enough. I would unfriend and block people who've ever had those condescending conversations with you that ever indicated that you are not beautiful and
Mhm.
amazing and all of those sort of things. That's step number one. Step number two is I would start consuming foods that feel good for you, the ones that are
Mhm.
healthy and healing, and embracing yourself as like this is my temple, and what's allowed in my temple, this is a palace, it's a sacred space, my orbit, it is an honor and a privilege to be in my presence. And so if I'm acting from that place, not because I'm better than anybody, I
Yeah.
see the light in myself and I see the light in the others, but I have to have some sort of standard on what sort of energy fields and frequencies I'm engaging with. Also,
Yeah.
we're not just putting out energy, right? We consume food and it's information. We consume through our eyes information. We consume through our ears information, and all of these frequencies affect us
Mhm.
at the physical level.
Yeah.
And in starting the process of self-love, it's filtering out what I don't want to become a part of myself. So anything
Mhm.
that's not in alignment with me advocating for myself, for the to the cells of my biology, just setting the standard and getting really good at saying, no, thank
No.
you.
Yeah. That is so important. That is absolutely crucial. Wow, I could talk to you forever. You just have a
Yes,
wealth of knowledge. So
thank
let's look ahead
you.
into the future. And what new trends or approaches do you foresee in the field of love, dating, and self-empowerment for women? And how do you plan to incorporate them into your work?
Okay, so this is going to be a big one because I'm going to get into verbiage and words, casting spells, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've been very much attached to labels, and I'm this and I'm that, and pronouns and all of these sort of things, which I think, okay, there's a purpose to that. And I believe in the future, we're going to get out of all of that, having to put ourselves in some sort of paradigm and just prioritize living to our own authenticity, which is outside of
Mm-hmm.
all of that.
Last two questions are going to be a bit of a time experiment
Sure.
where I'm going to teleport you into the past. And we are going to go and meet the younger you,
Aww.
a young woman who went out on a quest to find herself, find self love, and empower other people. If we could go back and meet the younger you
Yes.
and give her three nuggets of wisdom
Mm.
based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would those three nuggets of wisdom be?
Wow, I'm getting chills. First nugget is don't worry about one single thing. No matter what happens, no matter how terrible it seems, no matter how laid out in tears under the covers you are, everything is definitely going to be okay. You're going to be just fine. Second nugget of wisdom is trust yourself, trust the wisdom of your body, trust your intuition more so than outsourcing it, and keep continuing to do the practices that inspire you to do so. And thirdly is to really follow your highest excitement, the things that light you up and the things that bring you joy, and be less influenced by what other people say will make you more money or can make you more successful, because success is, are you happy with your life? So those are the three things.
Last question, we are
Sure.
going to teleport into the future. And we are going to go and sit with a 90-year-old you.
Oh, 90. Okay.
Sitting in your rocking chair, surrounded by your
I'm
children, your grandchildren, your
so
dogs, your cats,
cute.
whoever is with you at the end. If you could go and meet this wise woman who's led you up until that point, what will you say to her when you finally meet her?
Wow, I would say, first of all, congratulations for making it to 90. Second of all, you look great. And I would also say, I feel like I would have more questions and things to say to her, but I would in my congratulatory spirit, I would tell her, like, you did so amazing for your life, and you really did all the things that you wanted to do with courage, and appreciate her for the influence that she did have on her family and friends and clients and everybody who her light has touched in this lifetime. And I'd probably give her a hug. Yeah, I kind of feel her as somebody who's like full of wisdom and full of just really beautiful stories to share.
I love your answer. You know the reason why I love that last question?
Yeah.
It's because a lot of women don't realize that the wise woman is already in them.
Yeah.
We look outside of ourselves for answers, for solutions, for knowledge, but we are born with all the knowings, all the knowledge you
Wow.
need to live this life, right?
It's true.
So I've been teaching women a small practice I started a few years ago, where when I start to feel really stuck, if I'm working on something and I just don't know what to do next, I go into my meditation and prayers before I go to sleep. And I
Mm-hmm.
ask her, I tune into the essence of who I am becoming.
Hmm.
Say to her, what is the next step? What should I do now?
Yes.
And
I
I
love
wake up
that.
in the morning sometimes, I'm in the shower, and I get those light bulb moments. The solution, the answer is right there in my mind. Or I talk about what I'm working on to other people that I meet during the day. And it's like a jigsaw puzzle. These people have got pieces to my puzzle. And by the end of the day, I've got it all sorted out. But the moral
I
of this
love that.
story is that you've got this.
Yeah.
If you have a desire to do anything in life, you were born with the knowing, with the knowledge, with the skills, with the how. But you need to learn to go inside to find that and to
Mm.
quiet that little monkey brain that says, who do you think you are? You can't do this. We are so harsh on
I
ourselves.
know.
And we say things to ourselves that you would never say to your best friend.
Oh my God. It's true.
So thank you, Nicole, for your work in empowering women to find that space, to find how to love themselves to the fullest.
Oh,
To,
well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
to live in your body and enjoy this experience that we have to be a woman, right?
It's truly delicious. Like once you tap into it, it's quite addictive, you know, and it's like eating chocolate and being in nature and engaging with girlfriends and going out and laughing and playing and being silly. I'm about that life. So
I
thank
love
you
it.
so much for the opportunity, Gertrude. It's really been an honor.
It's an absolute pleasure. And thank you to everybody who tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We are a social impact movement of women from all over the world who share their stories to uplift you, inspire you, energize you, but most importantly, to empower you with the knowledge, the skills, the how to get you from where you are now to where you want to go. So if you are looking for your next significant other and you're needing a coach, a mentor, somebody who can handhold you to, first of all, learn how to love yourself, embrace who you are, love your body, and live in your body to the fullest,
Mm-hmm.
you have a coach who has been on this show. Reach out to Nicole. She is on Instagram,
Please.
and there's her Instagram handle. Get yourself somebody who can support you and help you
Yeah.
build that self-confidence and gain that self-love before you get into your next relationship.
Yes.
So thank you so much, everybody, for
Thank
tuning
you
in
so
today.
much.
And Nicole, thank you for the work that you are doing to bring more feminine energy into the world. It's
Thank
needed.
you, Gertrude.
Bye for now, everybody. I'll be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making personal